Chapter 1. Deep in the forest of the land of Rorin, lay dormant an entity which was lost to time and sealed by the earth. It was known as the Lacrua. A beast of unfathomable power, this creature carried with it the end of the world. A man said. But the world itself was not ready to end. It would not allow anyone or anything to remember or find the Lacrua. However, like all things, the world is finite. The strength of the Lacrua keeps pushing and pulling against the world. With nothing but its own demise, the world can only sit and watch as it slowly loses the battle. Some say that the Lacrua will be freed and destroy Rorin just as it did so many eons before. Why do you think that we are aware of the dark situation plaguing our land? Finished the man. The room was grand, with a large chandelier and many servants standing in the corners. In the center, a large table filled with unseen delicacies, with many sitting around the table as they spoke. If you truly believe that, you need to see a doctor, countered another voice. Or better, you need more ale. But I suppose if you believe that, perhaps you should lighten on the ale. Another voice said, however it was clear to hear the denial in this voice. What we should focus on is the neighboring kingdom. Rorin has never been devastated in such a manner before. The Zufirian Empire is at its height in power. Do you think any of the 5 emperors would not be a match for this fantasy creature? Questioned another. Well, I believe the tale has credit. The 5 emperors have not been seen for a very long time. Their last whereabouts are unknown. I believe they may have perished already. It has been centuries. Another old voice chimed in. We may be at our height in power, but we are not yet a great nation. A gloomy atmosphere drifted in the room. That is also true. If any warrior above Master Tier attacks our nation, we will all perish. The 5 emperors are most likely gone from this world. Impossible. The 5 emperors are the greatest warriors alive. The voices kept talking. Exactly as you said, Minister. During their time they may be monsters of strength, but they cannot escape the jaws of time. If you do not believe that danger is quickly approaching, then I fear for the Zufirian Empire. We cannot sit idly by while we have no emperors. I call on my birthright as a high noble to bring back the emperor's trial. Said the voice. The man seemed quite worked up on the idea. The importance of an emperor to Rorin is significant. You should know this better than anyone, Lord Kleeman. Just one can shift the power of the continent, and you want to have 5. Have you lost your mind? Lord Maui spoke. Do not patronize me, Lord Maui. You, yourself, wanted to know why the crops have been fewer and fewer each year. Rivers and dams are slowly drying up. The world is losing its life. And once she dies, we all follow her, as the Lacrua will rip us into pieces. The moment she cannot contain him is the last moment we have. Lord Kleeman countered. The room was silent for a few moments before an old woman at the head of the table finally spoke. With the numbers of our crops dwindling each year and more of the empire losing its people to unknown diseases, I fear we may not have the luxury of believing who is more correct. The neighboring empire Tranquil has bolstered its defenses, and are being even more cautious than we are. I believe that they have already begun looking for their next lower emperors, regardless of the power struggle that will follow afterwards. I understand your want for new emperors, Lord Kleeman. However, the destruction they will bring is also an issue you have to keep an eye out for. For with every new emperor, the kingdom has to humble itself before the emperors as the true power at be. And their own clash in the future will also devastate the land. The Zufirian Empire could vanish the moment the new emperors look to one another in anger. The woman finished. My most humble apology, Your Majesty. I did not mean to speak out of line. Said Lord Kleeman. The woman waved her hand, dismissing it. However, you are not wrong. As much as we do not want new emperors, they are needed. As she stood up. By my decree, the emperor's trial will be resurrected. Said the woman. That will be all. You are all dismissed. The woman turned and left as 5 servants followed suit. The women and men around the table lowered their head as she passed them. Once the woman had left, they all started conversing again. I do not think this is a good idea, said Lord Maui. All of us think this is not the ideal situation to be in, but Her Majesty is correct. If this goes on, our land will become weak and we might not have to worry about the Lacrua if the neighboring empires destroy us first," said a noblewoman. A silence fell on the group. The sound of glass and plates clinked as they ate. The cold night was pressing down on two people, barely any clouds in the sky. But the pressure in the air was painstakingly clear. A frustrated sigh escaped the mouth of a man staring in anger at a large mansion in the distance. "I want nothing more than to marry you, Tireding. Even if it means I have to." A delicate voice next to the man spoke. Tireding looked to her, his brown eyes stared into hers. He shook his head and raised his hand to caress her cheek gently as a lone tear escaped and slid down her face. "I love you too much for that. I would rather die than let you do that." She burst into tears at his words. Tireding looked back to the mansion. A cold breeze blew by. The woman shivered lightly until she felt a warm arm wrap around her and pull her close. She closed her eyes and leaned her head against his chest. "Then, what can we do?" she asked. Tireding smiled lightly as he kissed the top of her head. "Don't you worry, darling." In the despair of the moment, she managed a weak chuckle. "Where did you learn that phrase?" she continued. Tireding was silent for a few seconds before he spoke. "Don't you worry." She slowly shook her head, knowing he wasn't going to elaborate any further. Far away from them in a small room, a small amount of moonlight was peeking through a broken-down roof. "You can't leave yet, Mom. I just need more time to try and find a doctor that can help you," a desperate voice cried out. "Percival, you have to promise me." The woman never got to finish as Percival cut her off. "No, don't leave us," he said as tears started to swell in his eyes. "Percival, Percy, you are the elder brother. You have to protect your sister. Mera is young and beautiful. Many lords will seek her if they lay their eyes upon her even once. I will leave you the responsibility of choosing whether her lover is worthy of her," the woman whispered weakly. Percival grimaced as he turned and looked at Mera, a beautiful maiden, long black hair and soft features that would drive any man crazy with lust. "Your father, the man who I said died, is still very much alive. I just lied because he is a nobleman. If he knew I was pregnant with twins, he would have had you both killed. His name is Volker Wright. Be sure to avoid him at all costs. When I ran away, I stole a large sum of money to survive," she confessed. "Mother, why are you telling me this?" Percival asked, his chest constricted. He knew why. She knew her time was almost up. Ignoring his question, she continued. "I have coins saved up. Be sure to use it wisely. There is even enough for you to enroll in a magic academy. You were always so good at magic. I regret the fact that I could not nurture it." "Mother," Mera spoke up, "I will look after brother," she said, tears threatening to cascade down her face. "He is brash and only thinks with his fists at times. I am smarter than he is, so you don't have to worry. You have done plenty. You can rest now, even if it hurts. Please be happy," she said. The sound of tears echoed in the broken-down house. The next day at a certain magic academy, two students walked down the hallway. They carried themselves with confidence. They wore black and blue uniforms, and other students would part like the ocean when they walked by. "No! Let go of me!" a female voice exclaimed as she struggled against a group of male students. "So what if your father is a nobleman? He is what? A baron?" The last part was heavily sarcastic. "A little man playing noble. I haven't even left the academy yet and I am a count," the man boasted. "Once I get out of the academy, becoming a duke is all but assured," he said. "Be my woman, the benefits will be endless. You won't even need to share yourself with the Lord the night of our marriage," the man said. "I said no," the girl said. The count clearly was not happy with the denial. His face contorted into anger. "The daughter of a mere baron has such insolence." He grinned, but anyone could tell the grin on his face was one of ill intent. "Let's just see what happens to your dear father after today," he said. A flash of fear passed over her face. "Marvo." The students parted like the sea at the voice as the two students walked up. The Count turned and rolled his eyes. "What do you want, Rezu?" he asked. He saw another with him. "I see you brought little Galahad with you, too scared to be alone, I presume," Marvo mocked. "When will your little brain learn? You cannot threaten Academy students, at least not while I am here," Rezu said. Marvo scoffed. "Now scram, before your family has an ill encounter with fate." "I normally do not care for situations such as this, and I still do not. What you do is your doings, but the person you are threatening is my dear cousin." Galahad spoke lazily, but there was a certain amount of venom laced in his words. Marvo seemed to realize that he pushed his luck as far as he could and just scoffed and walked off. The female student looked to Galahad and smiled and was about to talk. "Silence." Galahad raised his hand. "I do not talk to disgraces. Consider this the first and last time I do anything for you," Galahad said and looked at Rezu. "I am leaving. I will see you at my castle later. The air here stinks of mistakes." The female stared at the ground, her hands gripping her dress, unable to meet Galahad's gaze. When Galahad left, Rezu looked at the girl in contempt. He turned and spoke. "You are responsible for fixing the mess your parents and elders have created. Do not squander the opportunity Galahad gave you. You now have his protection as his dear cousin. I would use this to the utmost degree at the Farangram." "Of course, Rezu," she said. "It's Marquis Storm to you," he said and walked away. "Of course," she said. "My cousin still cares for me," she thought as her heart tightened. She looked up with determination and steeled her nerves. "I won't fail you, cousin," Atla thought as she turned and walked away. The surrounding students all shook their heads. To think that one of the strongest fire mags in the academy can't even protect herself from the likes of Marvo. How her family name has fallen, said one male student. "Well, what do you expect? She might be a prodigy, but if she even singed his shoe we probably wouldn't hear from her again," said another student. Further away out on a straw wagon laid a young man with a piece of straw sticking out of his mouth casually. A light snore could be heard coming from the wagon as the young man slept. Suddenly he woke from the wagon, coming to an abrupt halt. He opened one eye when the sun suddenly seemed to hide behind the clouds. Realizing that it was not clouds blocking the sun but a burly man with a big axe. "Do you need anything, mister? I have neither coin nor a beautiful sister to give you, but if you wish to settle for me I would gladly oblige. You seem good enough. What are you, 10 inches, soft?" the young man said. The burly man growled. "So you are one for games?" he asked. "I like to think I am a comedian," the young man said as he was grabbed by the neck and tossed to the ground, dirtying his already dirty clothes. "Hey! I will have you know this outfit cost me 3 gold coins. And your words will cost you your life," said the man as he lifted his axe. "Stop!" another voice called out. The burly man turned and looked at his comrade. "What?" he asked. "We need to know if he knows where the princess is. She should be here, not these peasants," said the other man. The burly man looked to the young man, seeing as everyone else was cowering in fear. "Where is the princess of the Zufirian Empire? She should have been here, yet we only see a bunch of worthless peasants." The young man shrugged. "Firstly, I do not know where this princess is, nor do I care. Secondly, I am not a worthless peasant. I have 2 copper coins on my person. I would hardly call that worthless. Thirdly, my name is Don Tsukishi, not worthless peasant," Tsukishi answered. Silence ensued after that. "Off with his head, but first cut out his tongue. His tongue seems to have no bounds, constantly spouting rubbish like a drunken fool," the man said. Tsukishi frowned as they grabbed his hands and tied him up and put him on his knees. That's when they saw a carriage coming up. It had multiple guards and a man with golden-colored armor at the helm. The carriage finally reached them, and the bandits seemed to realize that that was the princess. They quickly surrounded the carriage. I take it you are the princess of the Zufirian Empire? The man who seemed to be the boss asked. The man in gold armor spoke. This is the carriage of Princess Amelia of the Zufirian Empire. You who have a death wish, step forward, I shall grant it for you. Otherwise step aside and let us pass. I am Commander Alaric of the Zufirian Empire, one of the candidates for the title of Warrior Emperor, said the man as a heavy presence flooded the surroundings. The princess peeked from the carriage, stunning the peasants with her beauty momentarily. Lord Alaric, what seems to be the problem? Why have we stopped? She asked. Nothing, Your Majesty. The way seems to be blocked by some larger than normal dirt. I shall clean it so that you would not feel discomfort as we pass, he said. She glanced past him and saw burly men with weapons staring at her with gazes that made her uncomfortable. One man was on his knees, tied up and staring at the sky, almost like he wasn't even paying attention. She was a beautiful princess and he did not even look at her. What an outrageous peasant! How was the sky more beautiful? The insolence! The man smirked. We knew of you and have already taken you into account, said the man as he took out a relic and aimed it at the commander and watched as the commander fell to his knees. This power! So overwhelming! Where did you find such an item? The commander said as he struggled to even stand. That matters not. The rest of the guards here are not that powerful. With the relic's assistance they will be useless. I would like to thank you for your patronage. The princess will fetch a high price. I am sure Zufiria's greatest enemy kingdom, the Thax dynasty, would pay a large sum for the royal blood of Zufiria, said the man as he walked past the commander, who fell down even further and struggled to even lift his body off the ground. He was glowing a light golden color, trying to overcome the relic, but to no avail. The guards rushed the man, but they were swiftly taken down by the bandits. The man came to the carriage and forced the door open. They grabbed her by the hair and pushed her. She walked forwards and tripped, falling down. How dare you? I am the princess. I can have your heads for this, she threatened. The men laughed. Of course, Your Majesty. The commander growled. You will be hunted by the Empire, and I will be the one to hunt you down, even to the ends of the earth, said the commander. We look forward to it, the man said as he picked the princess off of the ground and chucked her next to the young man who was still staring at the sky. I wonder what I will eat later, he thought as he was slapped over the head, snapping him out of his reverie. Don't think I have forgotten about you, the burly man said as he slapped Tsukishi. I don't think your brains are capable of telling you how badly you are messing up, for I am warrior, one of great power and ability. I could end your life by clicking my fingers. You can still turn around, said Tsukishi as he stared at the burly man. Of course, and I am a king. Now let your head roll, said the burly man as he swung his axe. The princess screamed as the axe hit the young man's neck and shattered, numbing the burly man's hands. What in the? The burly man didn't get to finish as Don Tsukishi tore the ropes tying him down. Well, I tried to warn you, said Tsukishi as he snapped his fingers and the burly man's head exploded.